Hello, welcome to another informative episode on White Davy Gardening and Worm Farm. We have been having temperatures that feels like minus 55 and around there. And so today I decided to come out into the garage to check on my worms because I wasn't able to do so during the rest of the week because of the temperatures and the strong winds. So this is the first bin that I took down. These red bins are kept on the shelf that are closest to the wall, and as I move the material I realize, and you see that it's all frozen, so any worms that are in that vicinity would be dead. These worms here, they're barely surviving, and most of the worms have moved to the front of the bin, so they're not doing too well. I haven't gone through the other bins yet. This one was beside that other bin, and yes, some part of it around the perimeter is frozen and some of the worms are dead. Now this back portion here was against the wall, and as you can see it is all frozen, so I have lost some of my worms. So now I'm going to have to move out these bins, move them more to the front part of the shelves, and turn up the heat. I have the heat in here at 21 degrees Celsius, and this shelf is directly in front of the heat vent, and yet still this worm bin froze. I'm not sure how much of my bins are frozen. I'm going to have to check that out and see, but it is a good thing that I came in here when I did. The damage could have been a lot worse. As you can see, the worms are trying to escape the bin. This bin is directly on the same, almost the same level as the heat vent, and because of that this bin is not frozen, but it is very cold, and so the worms are trying to escape. This bin doesn't look bad. There are no worms trying to escape, and it is not frozen. It is, however, very cold. So it would appear that the bins that are on the same height as the vent and a little bit lower, these are not frozen, but they are cold. Too cold for the worms actually, but thankfully not all of them are frozen. So these are the bins that are on the lowest shelf, and everything in this is frozen. The middle portion of it isn't, but the worms are frozen. And the sad thing is, in order to separate my worms from castings, I've been moving worms out from this shelf and putting them in containers on this shelf, and this shelf is the one that is up against the walls. And the bins that I took the worms from, the bins that I put the worms into over here, those are the bins that are frozen, unfortunately. So I'm going to be checking on my European Nightcrawler bin that is down there, and on my Canadian Nightcrawler bin. I am not sure what is, oh my goodness, look at this. This is a bucket of water that I have that is about almost 4 feet from the door, but as you can see, there's a big gap in the door so the cold air can come in. This bucket is frozen, so I don't know what is going on with my European Nightcrawlers that are in this bin. From the moment I had European Nightcrawlers to this bin, I've only been able to see one of them or two of them once. But they seem to be hiding well in the material, and because of that I cannot even tell if they're okay because they're hiding so well. So I'm just gonna move the material a bit. Yes, it is frozen in here. You see, I am trying to lift the content of this bin up and it is not moving, so it is frozen as well. So there's a strong possibility that all the worms in this, all the European Nightcrawlers in this bin might be lost. And there were over 400 of them in there. I have the lights on, but it seems to be pretty dark in here. So now I'm going to have to go through these bins to see what's going on. Why is it so dark? Okay, I'm going to have to bring the light to see what's going on with these Canadian Nightcrawlers. So these are my my European Nightcrawlers. Oh my gosh, this bin is frozen too. The middle isn't. And a little bit on some part of the surfaces aren't, and so all of the worms have gathered in this little corner here, and they're not doing well at all. So I think I'm going to be taking this bin indoors and allow it to thaw out, because the other European Nightcrawler bin is very frozen, so, and this is almost fully frozen, so I can't afford to lose all of them. So I'm going to be taking this indoors and allow it to thaw out. I think I'm going to go and get a blanket and come and wrap around the big European Nightcrawler bin. So this is the bin that is on the lowest shelf, and as you can see, all of that spot there, that's ice. It is all frozen. Everything is frozen. Let's look at the bins that are above. Yep, this feels as if it is frozen too. This is the second shelf from the bottom, and I can see ice in there as well. So frozen that the content of the bin expand and is, oh my gosh, this is frozen too. And that's the third level. And these are pretty close to the heat vent, except that these three layers that I look at are close to the ground, closest to the ground. Okay, so the fourth level is not frozen. So that's good. That's one worm that crawled out and died. And there's another one right there. And this must be frozen because the one closest to the heat is frozen. Yep, it's frozen solid. Now let's see what's going on with these. Canadian Nightcrawlers. If this is frozen, then I won't be getting any more Canadian Nightcrawlers. I see one on the side over there. Oh, those are two. Those are two Redwigglers. Let's see what's going on in here. The bin feels cold, but it's not. It's frozen. And there are my Canadian Nightcrawlers. They're all up in the material on the surface. It does not feel frozen on the bottom either, but it is very cold. The worm is looking quite fat. So that's good. At least these guys are okay. Now let's see, because this is the back of the worm farm, furthest from the heat. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if this is frozen. No, it is not. Good. Let's see. This isn't frozen, just partially frozen. So that's the third level up. This is solid. I don't know how long this cold weather is supposed to last, but if it continues like this, I'll be out of worms. So I turned up the heat in here just a little bit, and I'm going to be checking on these upper trays to see how they're doing, because they're right up against the wall. So I'm going to be checking on these bins to see how they're doing. And I'm just going to put this light back. So I decided to stockpile them close to the heat so that the bins can thaw out. So I will be giving you an update to see what's going on with the bin, if any of the worms survive. So that is it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video, please give me a thumbs up. You can leave a comment in the section below. And I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.